what's going to stop somebody from joining? What's going to stop somebody from engaging with an article where they're going to learn about the value that the organization is bringing them? Logging in to update their account, any number of one of these things. There are intermediate measures that do relate to the world of friction that we can measure, assess, and use that to predict and improve for the future.
Welcome to AI to Z. Hosted by Airswift's Chief Revenue Officer, Anna Frazzetto, we delve into artificial intelligence, health tech, and more. Tune in and journey with us into the future.
Well, welcome, Todd, to our podcast. Let me introduce you to the audience. So typically what I like to do is just take a look at your LinkedIn. And what I like, Todd, is that you say that you're a transformational leader for the digital age with the classic profile of a productive disruptor. I think that's a great way to categorize that. You've been a chief marketing officer, chief experience officer today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I know we've known each other for more years than we care to admit. But why don't we kind of jump right in? Todd, one of the things as our podcast is called AI to Z, and one of the topics that kind of came to mind, and actually we kind of talked a little about it when we spoke as a precursor to this podcast, was how does your company use AI to enhance user experience, right, of your services, of your products? How do you go about incorporating that?
Well, let me just start by talking a little bit about my role at the American Medical Association. So as Chief Experience Officer, I am responsible for marketing and membership, and that includes all of our kind of digital publishing operations, so the website and email marketing, social media, all of that kind of stuff. And so when we think about AI in that context, there are different examples depending on which part of the experience that you want to look at. I have a different view of experience than other people out there. So let me just tell you what I think it is first. It's the seamless integration of product, marketing, commerce, and service. And so it can be any part of that, whereas I think other people have more narrow definitions of what that is. So any person that's in the digital business and digital marketing or running a site or anything like that, your number one nightmare is something is broken and you don't know it. And that prevents, from members from joining or people putting things into their shopping carts, whatever it is. Historically in my career, that was like what keeps me up at night. And through AI, we now can make headway against something like that, which is we're using a platform now on our site that alerts us to when things are broken. And that kind of automation and letting you know, alerting you to when things are not working properly as an indication that your customers or your website users are experiencing friction. And that's the enemy of customer experience. And so by being able to automate that kind of detection, that's a tremendous improvement in customer experience because people are just trying to do what they want to do. They want to read an article, they want to log in, they want to click on something and have it go somewhere. All of those things that used to be more manual or you'd find out, 5 hours or 2 days down the road are things that now can be automated through AI. So that's a big change.
Right. And you know what? And Todd, I definitely want to talk about, I know that you have a book that is getting ready to, hit the market.
I just finished last week with my book. So hooray.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I definitely want to touch on that because I know you talk about user experience. It's such an impactful thing, right? And, we can all relate to it regardless of AI or just our lives. If something doesn't go right, how it impacts us. And I like the way you said it is we just want to get on with what we want to do and don't want to have technology break on us along the way.
Absolutely. That seamless customer experience, or what I call the 10-second customer journey, relies on the ability to eliminate that friction that sits between those four areas that I named, and between marketing and product and commerce and service. There's a lot that can go wrong, and from having been in this business for a long time, it's very, very difficult to stamp that out, because in a lot of organizations, those responsibilities sit in different departments. It's hard to coordinate and hard to provide a seamless experience. So just making things work, not as easy as you think, but the tools are in place to help.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about that. You said, there's a lot of, different groups that are involved, a lot of different departments, and trying to coordinate and collaborate. What are some of the items that you can share with the audience as far as what works and what doesn't work?
Well, I think the number one is having everyone view that paradigm of customer experience as being the collection of those things. One of the things that I do talk a lot about in my book is what do we mean by customer experience? Because it can be overwhelmingly broad if you think about it in the traditional definition of everything that everyone perceives about your product from through time immemorial. That's like basically the definition of customer experience. I didn't find that very operationally helpful. And so by putting it in terms of that seamless integration of those four elements, and then what I added to that is to acquire and retain customers. That definition then gives a directive to an organization that those four things need to be thought about as one thing, because from the customer and the consumer's end, they don't really care what department the problem emanates in. They just want it to work. And so the way that we're approaching things here is being much more collaborative, and I mean that in the if you've ever read the book about called Collaboration, about meaningful collaboration that's built around results. That's not just for the feel good part of it, but it does feel good to do it together. But it's about producing results, because you're working together with an eye toward who the target audience is, what clear objectives are, and then your product and your platforms are representations of that understanding, not the other way around.
Right. And I think a key ingredient has got to be, obviously starting from the top of the leadership chain, right, between, yourself, the CEO, or where it becomes the message, the vision for the organization to kind of go down that path.
I think there's a lot that operational leaders can do to produce that outcome. And part of it is, building that collaboration with your colleagues, creating the pilots that demonstrate what the results are, and then expanding from there. It's part of a test and learn kind of culture. And those stories and those successes can get promoted, to your senior management group and to your CEO, and then they become templates for how the organization can work successfully. So I think there's a lot that you can do at every level, and I think particularly for folks that have leadership roles of particular business units, that's where you start.
So, Todd, how do you measure success, right, of an AI-powered user experience or user enhancements?
I don't know that I have a different answer to that question than I would be to how do I measure success with any kind of initiative.
Okay.
I'm very clear about, my job. It's about growth. It's growth in our audience. It's growth in the reputation of our brand, and it's growth in membership. And I don't care what kind of supplemental technology is added into the mix on that. Those metrics don't change. And so if I can't move the needle by incorporating AI into that mix, then that's not helping me. Now, on the other end of that, from the customer standpoint, there are a million different metrics that we put in place that help us judge whether we're achieving that final outcome. And we can kind of tell along the way, especially looking at the friction points that prevent growth. What's going to stop somebody from joining? What's going to stop somebody from engaging with an article where they're going to learn about the value that the organization is bringing them, logging in to change, to update their account, any number of one of these things. There are intermediate measures that do relate to the world of friction that we can measure, assess, and use that to predict and improve for the future.
Okay, very, very, very insightful. I would ask then, are you concerned with, how to handle trust and transparency today? Are there any challenges you see with that?
Well, I think there always have been. And again, and it happens in the digital world and it happens in the real world. I walked into a store over the holiday weekend and there's a sign in the front that says 40% off all for full price merchandise. And I get to the counter with the 5 things and only one of them is 40% off. And they're all full price items. So how do I feel as a customer in that situation? Well, here's the problem: poor communication. So that principle of communicating appropriately about the rules of engagement and what the deal is with your customers and people who are using your site, it's just so paramount to be transparent in communication about what they can expect and what you're promising to deliver. Largely, the technology should be kind of in the background, allowing you to be able to fulfill that promise. Now, I think in the future, especially on the digital side, there are increasing balance that you pay attention between personalization and kind of meeting those requirements. And it's just using my own experience over the weekend. You go to a site that's having a Black Friday sale, and then I get emails all weekend long that says the shirt you were looking at is running low on stock. Okay, so I've agreed to that. It actually helps me, and I'm willing to accept that level of personalization and the data that I put into that system. But go into the future, what are those kind of agreements that we're going to have? I think they're going to be based a lot on consent. And I think that is a key thing. It's not just legal consent, but it's beyond that. With your user base, your customers, they need to be able to trust you and what you say you're going to do, how you would use their data, and how you will balance the needs of privacy and personalization down the road.
Yeah, all so critical. And of course, now if I link it to the impact of social media today, right? You and I were talking about this not too long ago. How do you navigate those waters?
Well, again, that's a huge question because there's a lot to navigate. Let's start on the positive side and go back to that arena of personalization. It's been from an engagement standpoint and experience standpoint, pretty profound in terms of the impact. I mean, just think about what you see in your social media feeds. You think about the products and the services that are marketed to you in there. If it's working well, you meet the standard of the 10-second customer journey, because I know through various targeting capabilities and my own first-party knowledge that you're interested. I've honed my messaging to you through testing on platforms like that. And then I'm able to take you through a seamless experience in terms of my landing pages and commerce and out. And so, on that side, there's a very positive component of it. On the other side of that, I won't go into like the deep navigational issues around social media. I think you can see those pretty clearly out in society right now in terms of the pros and the cons. It is a divisive world, and one misstep can be very costly. And so we're obviously very careful. I know that other people are out there as well to make sure that the appropriate safeguards are in place and that there's a clear strategy for kind of the governance around your use of social media.
Right. So Todd, you talked about the 10-second journey. So maybe can you spend a couple of minutes expanding on that, and what can you share about your upcoming book?
So I'll tell you the story of where the 10-second customer journey came from. Is from several years ago, planning a trip for spring break. Ended up deciding to go to Paris. Did what everybody else did. Typed that into my Google search box, and within about a few seconds, I had kind of landed on an appropriate site that had everything packaged for me in terms of what kind of trip I want to take, when. Here's your ticket. Here's your hotel. Here's everything done and out the door. And, on the other end of that, I'm not sitting there thinking about the person that had to be in a position to see and respond to my search request, to have the appropriate product and packaging built, to have the site working and a fantastic commerce system. Any problem along which I could have just said, I'm not ready to do this. I need more information, more research. And so that has been with me. And as I've published a lot on LinkedIn about the idea of modern day digital experience, really stuck with me. And so when I entered as a chief experience officer here at the AMA and entered this world of customer experience, there was really this moment at which I'm like, I really need to understand and define customer experience in this world for myself in a way that is growth oriented, not just around feelings, and that can be operationally achievable for someone in my shoes. And that is really kind of where the book came together. And I have developed basically a playbook of my moves from kind of start to finish to facilitate that journey. And people might be surprised where it starts, but it does start with the target audience, customer definition, and goes through the various things all the way from building your brand proposition to your storytelling platform, your eliminating friction from your commerce engine, and so forth. So hopefully a lot of people will get a lot of help. I know that folks on my team that have read it have already found it really helpful. So it'll be out in June of next year. And you can buy it now and pre-order it on Amazon or Target or many other online platforms. So
right, I've already pre-ordered mine. I got the updated date as far as when it's going to arrive. So that's fantastic. Look forward to getting my hands on it and reading it. Well, Todd, this kind of brings us to the end of the podcast. But before we leave, what power word would you like to leave the audience with? If there's one word that you can kind of summarize, what would it be?
I'll just say 10-second customer journey. It's more than one word, but think about
Great.
that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That sums it up. It's everything that we've been talking about. So again, look forward to getting the book. And thank you so much, Todd, for being here today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the AI to Z podcast with Anna Frazzetto. If you found value in today's episode, consider following for more insightful STEM discussions. We'll be back with another deep dive. Until then.